Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lords of Limited. My name is Ben Warney, and joining me on the line, as always, Mr. Ethan Nebula Dragon Sachs. Ethan, are you a dragon of the West? Are you a dragon of the East? What's your It's a cool nickname, Ethan Dragon of the West Sachs. I guess you're Dragon of the East because you're in Pittsburgh.
What is this dragon of the blank? What is this from?
It's from Game of Thrones, right? Something like
I,
that.
I don't know.
You know, Game of Thrones stand for you.
No, I watched season 1. That was it. I missed the train. Like I was behind everybody, and I just didn't have it in me to watch a bunch of TV by myself. So I missed the train. But it seemed like it died. It died at the end there. So whatever.
Yeah, I didn't finish the show, but I was an OG Game of Thrones hipster.
Oh.
I was reading those books in 2002, baby.
Wow. Okay, we'll get you back to bed, Grandpa. Well, that's great. I don't know. I guess I'm a dragon of the East then. But I do love me a Nebula dragon. Have you gotten to do any Big Red this week after our discussions?
I have done one Big Red deck, and it was quite satisfying. Zookeeper Mechan's really good in that deck.
Yeah. Zookeeper Mechan really is the truth for those big ramp curves. I feel like we should also touch base, check in about Blackjack Theory, a universally agreed upon tool by the masses.
Well,
notes.
No. But I think that was on us. Like we threw it out. Like we didn't have a fully fleshed out plan.
No, quite half baked.
Quite half baked. But I think I want to bake it fully. I'm in
too.
for finishing it for the last 30 minutes in the oven and popping out a beautiful Blackjack Theory pie. I'm a believer in this tool, and I think it's going to be a future episode. When remains to be seen, but I am a big believer in this tool. I think we got a lot of useful feedback too,
for sure,
in the Lords of Limited Discord about. I am glad that we left it open-ended and didn't just say here's what it is, because there were a lot of people arguing for there shouldn't be longest road type bonuses, or there should be deductions for X, and there were people that were like, no, the cleaner the system, the better. And I think there shouldn't be any longest road bonus for synergy. I think I'm in. I think I've been won over by that camp because it lets you just give copium to your decks, right? Like it just lets you basically give +2 to your deck when you feel like it because you like your deck. And I think the cleaner and the meaner the system, the better it is. And then the score doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, but also just the discussion that you're going to have from a result of the score. And the cleaner the system is, the clearer a discussion you can have about the deck, I think.
Correct. Yeah, I think the thing I feel the strongest about is I don't want to add more nuance to the system, because I think more nuance will certainly lead to whatever cleaner evaluations or something, but it's less quick and dirty. And I think part of the reason the system works is that it's quick and dirty, and I think leads to discussion. And that someone highlighted, one of the reasons I think Ben and Ethan are so jazzed about this is because it's a good for discussion. And what they get to do every week is have a discussion about Magic. And I was like, yes, that is also true. I think it's fun to be able to try and put a number on a deck and then compare how you got to that number. But yeah, just want to echo your thoughts about a lot of great feedback from the Discord. But and I think we're going to be fleshing this out, or as you said, baking it in the oven another 30 minutes in the future and bring it back for an episode in its entirety, or bring it back just to sort of look at some decks under that lens. But I really enjoyed the discussion we had and the ensuing discussions in Discord.
Also, I would say one of the things that we didn't address quite clearly enough, because it was also sort of spawned out of and mixed in with that discussion of Jason ILTG and Team Sanctum's draft review there, is that this is strictly a deck building evaluation tool. Like this has nothing to do with the draft. This is after you're done, you've got your pile of cards, you put Blackjack Theory on the deck. I don't think Blackjack Theory has anything to do with the draft portion. Does it maybe incentivize you to draft better cards? Yes, but you should always be wanting to draft good cards. So I don't think there's a tension or anything there. We're proposing it as strictly a deck evaluation tool. And the other thing that I'm really ashamed of on behalf of the podcast is, as Sirkovitz pointed out in Discord, we left it on the table.
Yeah.
Deck has more than 21 points. It's busted.
It's busted. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's horrible on our part.
That's twice in a row that Sirkovitz has come in clutch with. One, when we were talking about Virus Beetle and Cryogen Relic, saying that those cards are super glue. I loved that. And then also now coming in with if your deck is over 21, it's busted, which is very, very good. So apologies for that, and we'll give full credit to Circuits there, and more Blackjack Theory in the future. For now, we're sending off Edge of Eternities off to space in a capsule, in a life pod, whatever. I don't know what you do in space, but we'll be sending you off in a rocket ship and talking about Edge of Eternities in 50 takes. And before we dive into that, we've got a little housekeeping stuff to take care of. Patreon page, patreon.com/Lords of Limited is where folks can go to give back to the show if they so choose. Couple of perks over at the Patreon page if you want to give back to the show. One is access to our Discord. We just talked about having a great discussion there about the last episode. There's great discussions happening in all sorts of facets about still big picture and card evaluation and debriefs from Mythic Championships and Arena Opens and all that good stuff when there's high stakes events online. And in paper as well. People can debrief their RCQs, etc. And we've also got access to, at higher tiers, access to our podcast feed, where you get access to this episode a day early, ad-free, and also access to our weekly bonus episode of Lords Unlimited. Very excited that we're bringing back the redraftables this week, where we've got some bonus 12 categories, sort of a 50 takes continued, 50 takes part 2 episode. So if any or all of that sounds of interest to you, if you want to check out the podcast feed for a 7-day free trial, you can do all of that at patreon.com/Lords of Limited. And we want to shout out our new patrons the first week that they join. So this week we're welcoming Chase and Kevin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, cannot say thank you enough. We also cannot say thank you enough to FusionGamingOnline.com, who is sponsoring this episode and is your go-to destination for Magic the Gathering and more. Whether you're chasing down that last elusive rare, stocking up for draft night, or turning your extra cards into store credit, Fusion has you covered with great prices, fast shipping, and huge selection. If you're in Canada, it's a no-brainer, and even if you're elsewhere, you might be surprised at how competitive Fusion is on price and speed. Check them out at FusionGamingOnline.com/Lords and let them know that we sent you. That's FusionGamingOnline.com/Lords. Great deals, great selection, delivered fast.
Are you ready to say goodbye to Edge of Eternities?
That's an interesting question. No, but I think only because I have not drafted as much as I normally would have by this point.
The timing of this set was pretty bad for you in terms of school starting.
Yeah, like band camp, school starting, my fiance moving to Jasper. Like I have... if there was a choice of spending time with her or playing Magic, it was always spending time with her because she just moved cities to be closer to me. So I have played less than I would have normally. So I think in that sense, I'm not ready for it to go because I would like to do a few more things. And honestly, I just enjoy spacecraft very much as a mechanic. If you had asked me at the start of this format what I thought my favorite mechanic was going to be, I would have put spacecraft at the bottom and landers at the top. And I think it is flipped for me. I think spacecraft's my favorite, and I think landers are my least favorite mechanic. And I enjoy drafting and playing the games, but I think if I had drafted more, I don't think the format is particularly deep. And so I think if I had drafted more, I think I would be ready to say goodbye to Edge of Eternities, although it does seem soon. It does seem soon.
I think that's just how we're going to feel generally, like with the 6 set release cycle. And we'll be very curious to see what happens with Spider-Man in the coming weeks. But that's for future Ben and Ethan to deal with. For now, let's get 50 minutes on the clock. And we're going to talk about our 50 takes for Edge of Eternities, starting with take number 1. Edge of Eternities was a, quote, rock solid format. Why is rock in quotes here?
Planets, rock, baby, space, meteorites. No? Too big of a stretch? You definitely didn't sell it by saying why is rock in quotes here. You could have just been like, Edge of Eternities was a rock solid draft format. Yeah,
okay,
and I think the audience would have picked up on it. No? Okay.
I read it many times, and I was like, what do we mean by this? Just because I think, maybe it's the boomer in me, that rock has a rock in Magic has a connotation of something, the black-green deck, whatever. And I was wondering if we were doing something there. No, we were just talking about rocks and planets. That's fine.
I will leave all future episode titles and punning to you. I just that was soul crushing. I don't think I can recover. I don't think I can come back from it.
I didn't
tried
mean
so hard.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I agree with the sentiment. It was a rock solid draft format. But I also feel like because I wasn't really tuned into the narrative, but I think the narrative was that this format was terrible. And I don't understand that at all. I think it was. I think people really didn't like this format.
Wow, that's strange to me. This was, I think, the definition of slightly above average draft format for me.
Yeah. But I feel like because I felt that way and everybody else I see seemed to the like broader conversation seemed to be about disliking this format, that I was like, no, it's great. Like,
Defending its honor.
yeah, I just feel like the pendulum had to swing a little bit further. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think this will probably be a point later on, but I think one of the things I really appreciated about it was how clear signals were, how you could really just draft. I felt like what was open in your seat, because of a lot of the points we're going to talk about are going to be dovetailing off of that. But like, I felt like signals were clear, and that led me to feeling good about my decks and led me to feeling good about like how my deck performed in games. And I thought the gameplay was good, and we'll talk about all that stuff. But I like the set.
Number 2, Edge of Eternities was an imbalanced format in terms of color and card power levels.
Yes, certainly. I think the latter point, the card power level point, like pretty big gaps of like, I mean, maybe even multiple tiers, like more than 3, but like super duper busto, which was, there were few and far between. But then just like the premium cards, the support cards, the rest.
Yeah, and I
Or
think there were very clear delineations. You think it was less imbalanced in terms of color, which I'm also kind of coming around to. Yeah.
yeah, like we'll have a color ranking in a couple points, which like I'm fine with, but I think the colors are all pretty close, and I'm happy to draft any of them and happy to draft basically any color pair. So I don't know if I feel like, I think there was some imbalance early on, or some perceived imbalance early on. And I think by this point, I would say it's all gravy to me.
All right.
Number 3, Edge of Eternity's draft was all about picking the best cards and then finding ways to make your other cards better. Sort of just like acknowledging power level and acknowledging pockets of synergy, I felt like were the two prongs you had to hit in draft.
Yeah, and a lot of the best cards did naturally pull up other cards. Like that's why Cryogen Relic and Virus Beetle were two of the best commons, because they naturally pulled up a bunch of other commons around them.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were also just cards that were excellent, and if you found cards like a lot of the best spacecraft, you could pair Nanoform Sentinel quite happily alongside them, and then Nanoform Sentinel becomes a card that you're interested in all of a sudden. So there's tons of stuff like that going on in the format where really good cards incentivize you to play with commons that you wouldn't otherwise play with.
Well, and some commons oscillated quite heavily between like cards you did not want to include in your deck sometimes. And then on other decks, you'd be like, no, this is key. I mean, what you're talking about with Nanoform Sentinel, if you don't have spacecraft, if you don't have a mythic station land, if you don't have tractor beam, if you don't have things that care about artifacts, why is Nanoform Sentinel in your deck? But the more of, and if you check all 4 of those boxes, then you want as many copies of Nanoform Sentinel as you can possibly get in your deck. And
Yeah,
there were a lot of cards like that in the set.
I think that's one of the things that we appreciate about the format, or that I think is one of the format's best attributes, in my opinion, also.
Agreed.
Number 4, the official Lords of Limited Color Power Rankings. Number 1, blue. Number 2, black. In an upset, number 3, green. Number 4, white. And bringing up the rear in number 5, red.
You're saying upset because green should be 5th? It should be the worst. It's the worst color. Is that what you're saying?
Green's not the worst color. No. I
No.
think green belongs in third, where we have it.
Yeah. I love all of my babies equally. I can't rank them.
No, that's not allowed. Do you have
No,
a
it's not
different ranking
allowed.
than this?
I do, but it doesn't matter.
I This does. I need to hear. I need to hear your ranking.
I mean, I can't do it. The thing I feel strongly about, or the strongest about, but not enough to write it in our doc, is that black is first for me.
But not enough to write it in our doc. Not enough to cause strife in the Lords of Limited
It's
relationship.
not worth it. I don't care about the rankings that much. Because I really do believe that it wasn't that imbalanced, and these colors were pretty close. And I think the whatever the early returns that said it was a Bant format or a Sultai format or whatever, we're just like, I'll draft whatever. Number 5, lack of mana fixing for any color except green, and honestly, sometimes not even green, was a defining feature of Edge of Eternity drafts. And I think for us, a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, it was very refreshing to know there was something interesting about knowing once you start drafting your second color, you're largely locked into taking cards of those two colors and not speculating that aggressively. Like there was
It
some,
was
I think that was what I appreciated the most. I think for me, I am normally when I draft a very aggressive speculator, and this
mm,
format forced me to rein in my speculation a little bit, and I think also rewarded me for reining in my speculation a bit.
yeah. Well, I think uh it also just really hammered home how terrible limited mana bases are. Like 9/8 mana bases are
So bad.
atrocious. And speaking of atrocious, Command Bridge is also an atrocious magic card. And I just like I can't. This is the land that we had at common that you had to tap something when it came into play tapped, and then it could tap for a mana of any color. But that kind of land not being playable in most two color decks and not being great for splashing just like really caused you to think about your colors, your color requirements, and your mana bases in a way that other sets haven't. And I'm saying I want that for every future limited format, but I found it a refreshing breath of air for this format.
Speaking of more atrocious, number 6, sealed. Holy cow, the lack of mana fixing made sealed a horrendous format.
Yeah, I did not enjoy my time with sealed for this set. I felt like pools were pretty prescribed. There wasn't a lot of wiggle room, not a lot of deck swapping you could do. It just felt like you had a thing you could do, and sometimes that was good and sometimes it wasn't, and that was that.
My journey with sealed in this format, unfortunately, not done. I'm going to be driving 9 hours to Atlanta,
Oh,
Georgia,
that's
to play some more Edge of Eternity sealed. might have reconsidered my Magic Con Atlanta decision had I known it was going to be Edge of Eternity sealed.
yikes. Number 7, green had a monopoly on fixing and great rate creatures. And what else is new? Though it was nice that green got to feel super unique in its ability to splash around, and not even splash around that much, but splash around more than other colors did, thanks to lander tokens from Galactic Wayfarer and Gene Pollinator, the what was that, larval Scoutlander, the
Mm-hmm.
uncommon land that could fetch up to basics. That was really good. And just green getting good like 3/3s for 3, 4/4s for 4, 5/5s for 5. That held up in 2025.
Well, and one of the things I feel like happened over the course of the format is like the first couple weeks when people didn't have solid card evals, like the 4 color green decks were really common. And then I think in
Mm-hmm.
the latter weeks, I haven't seen that many 4 color green decks. And maybe that's just anecdotal on my part, but I feel like green has started being a little bit more 2 color pairs light splash, what you're talking about. And then really like the only time that you go 4 colors is when you're playing the differently named land type deal.
Yeah.
Like that is one flavor of green as opposed to the only thing green is doing, which is what I kind of felt like in the first 2 weeks of the format.
Well, and weirdly enough, and I think we'll talk about this when we talk about the differently named lands thing, is that like you were often messing with your mana base not for cards of different colors necessarily, but for that differently named lands thing. Like just playing a watery grave in your black red deck as like a okay, I want to get my survey. I have a survey mechan, so I'd like to get that online, or I have an all fate scroll, I'd like to get that online. So I'll play this tapped swamp or this shocked swamp in my deck, which I thought was interesting.
Number 8, the small game and sacrifice package that Black offered was powerful and synergistic.
You just like go down the line of like blacks, commons, and uncommons, and you're like, oh yeah, this works with that, and that works with this, and I've got my virus beetle and my umbral color zealot and my parajeet beckoner and my, a comet crawler and my the 4 mana 2/4, and just like so many things plus its removal. Black just really put a pinch on resources, but then on your opponent's resources, but really allowed you to eke out value over multiple turns.
I agree. I played black probably the most in this format, despite thinking that blue was the best color. The thing I found about black is it's really tough when you don't get virus beetles.
Yes. Yeah. I've taken Virus Beetle over cards. I think I took it over, what was it, the 6 drop, the mono circuit feeder, 6 mana 4/4 flyer, enters -X to something and +X to something equals the number of artifacts. But just because Virus Beetle is so key to what the black decks want to do.
Yeah.
Number 9, white was very versatile. Could play an aggressive game thanks to Night Luminary, could play a support splashworthy removal game thanks to Banishing Light and Focus Fire, or a value game thanks to its uncommons like the Shepherd that could search up a 1-dropper of Plains, or the 4-mana 3/3 that could grow and draw cards off of double spelling. Just white could do a lot of different things. But I think to your point of knowing where cards' homes were, maybe sort of gave it a little bit of a multiple personalities of like, make sure that when you know what your deck is doing, that you have the white cards in your deck that are doing that thing. Because if you don't, if you have things that are off plan slightly or very, it can, reduce the consistency of your deck.
Right. Really comes back to bite you. Number 10, blues uncommons were absolutely code cracked.
Pretty good. Now that's how you put a pun in the show notes.
But notice the delivery. I wasn't like, why is code here? the delivery matters.
That's true. That's actually, I should take some notes. I've been out the acting game too long. Talk to me about these code cracked uncommons.
Well, top of the heap, Code Cracker Hound, Sibsig Appraiser.
We did not miss.
Coming back to haunt us, but we didn't miss this time around. Code Cracker Hound was insane. Gigastorm Titan, 2-mana 4/4, sign me up. Which is basically what that card was. It was trivially easy to double spell with Gigastorm Titan. Ilvoy Infiltrator, the best scroll thief there ever has been. Although, I think I steadily came down on this card over the course of the format after being super hot on it, like week 1. But I still think it is one of the best scroll thieves we've ever seen. Disculpting Blast, the bounce spell, Mouth of the Storm, great finisher, which is the 6-mana 6/6 flyer ward 2. Tractor Beam as one of the better control magic variants we've seen in a while. Uthros Cyanist to let you double spell with ease. Every one of blues,
just Soul Ring.
Soul Ring, sure, excuse me.
Yeah,
every one of blues uncommons was good.
Yeah, it's like, and
except maybe the little shrink ray thing. That thing.
The shrink ray. Oh, the equipment.
Yeah.
Atomic Microsizer. Yeah, that card didn't quite get there. It's funny. I got kind of trounced by that really early on. My opponent had that in a blue-red deck with the Pangolin, so they were like getting a lot of counters on the Pangolin, and then they could suit it up and attack in and make it unblockable. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is a thing. It wasn't really a thing. But yeah, blues uncommons were awesome. Number 11, red wanted to go big at common more than it wanted to be aggressive. Talked about this last week, that curve of Zookeeper Mechan into either Orbital Plunge or Kov Landseeker, into Crack the Lander and do a 3-drop into Nebula Dragon was just busted.
Yeah, and all at common, ready to go right there for you in a color that was frequently open.
Yeah.
Number 12. Spacecraft and stationing was the coolest mechanic of Edge of Eternities draft.
I agree. And like every fiber of my being going into the format wanted to be like, trust R&D. The like headliner mechanics are good. And I just couldn't do it. And I was like, this looks too clunky. This looks so bad. But it wasn't. It was sweet. And it's like, it's not quite vehicles. It's not quite battles. It's not quite convoke. It's its own thing. And that made it like a tricky puzzle to evaluate, I found.
Yeah, I think Spacecraft made Edge of Eternities way better. And I think there were so many cool things about the mechanic. Was you had gameplay considerations. You had deck building considerations. Almost like in Duskmourn, and how Delirium kind of warped everything. I think Spacecraft really did that for not every deck, but a lot of decks in Edge of Eternities. Made cards like Nanoform Sentinel really cool. How it interacted with Warp as another mechanic was excellent. It just really tied the whole Spacecraft theme and giving the set a very unique feel, like all in one mechanic, which was really cool.
Agreed. Number 13, Spacecraft and many other cards in Edge asked you to find the ceilings of cards because it was worth working towards. I think this is like one of the reasons that I'm so high on Spacecraft is like when I think about having my 3-mana 4/5 or 3-mana 5/5 flyer unlocked and attacking on turn 4, and it's quite possible to do that. It's quite possible to have a 2-drop in play, pump that in as a station cost, play your thing on 3, play something on 4, use that and your existing creature to station it up. And now you've just got a huge advantage on the board that you wouldn't have otherwise. You wouldn't normally be able to have a 3-mana 5/5 flyer.
Yeah, and I think the most interesting thing about it was that all of limited content creation that we've heard our whole lives is you want a high floor. And spacecraft have the lowest floor. Like
Yes.
when they're bad, they are blank pieces of cardboard for the most part. But when they're good, they're some of the best cards in your deck if you hit the high. And it's a really intriguing puzzle, and I really enjoyed it from Edge.
Agreed.
Number 14, the cycle of mythic planets were also a huge win in Edge of Eternities drafts. These were mythics. I almost didn't include these on our previews thing when we talked about new mechanics because it was like, these look like constructed things, whatever, whatever. And no, not only were they good in limited, they were high pickable cards and did really unique things for decks and gameplay.
Well, like, I totally agree. And I think you haven't mentioned that they have a station cost or a station activation of 12. And before playing with station or spacecraft, the thought of tapping 12 power cumulatively
Sure,
in a game
yeah.
was just like, I'm never going to do that.
Right.
But it really took, you just missed that sometimes there were things where you wanted your things tapped. You had cards that had bonuses from being tapped, and having a free way in a land to be able to tap those things, a way that they couldn't disrupt. Because one of the things that, like, sometimes you wanted a way to super tap your creatures or to be able to consistently tap your creatures. And once the spacecraft was a creature, after you got it stationed,
it was vulnerable to removal. Yeah.
It was vulnerable to removal. And so the lands were even doubly good because you couldn't pick them off that way. And not only that, but so many of them had incredible game-winning, especially the red one, game-winning activations once they were online. Like, just so busted.
I think the white one was the coolest one. After getting locked out from my opponents, just copying the ETB sacrifice a creature vehicle, Susurian Voidcraft or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like I was in on the white one. The red one's excellent. And the black one is also game winning when it gets online. You draw so many cards from the black one. The blue and the green, I think, were the two tamest, but all of them were great.
But when you pop off with the blue one with Nanoform Sentinel, when you're like, float some Tolarian Academy mana, untap it with Nanoform Sentinel, do it again, and you've got stuff to use with that mana. Oh, feels pretty good. Number 15, speaking of lands, the number of differently named lands mechanic was perfect. I agree. And I liked that this wasn't just green. Like, yeah, green had Fungal Colossus, but having All Fate Scroll, having Survey Mechan, it was nice that, like, any color pair kind of deck could do this. And it sort of was a game plan in and of itself.
Right. And it didn't happen all the time, but it could really pop off when it did happen. It made great use of the bonus sheet lands, which was also something that was very nice. Like the bonus sheet lands felt very tied into the draft format. And I think the fact that the bonus sheet lands were there also let you do this with non-green decks. Like, yes, it was default a green thing, but you could absolutely have your Survey Mechan chilling in a white, blue, black deck with an All Fate Scroll or whatever.
Exactly.
Number 16, the bonus sheet of lands, Stellar Sights, looked up the name of this when I was writing this take, no idea, was a win for collectors and for limited players. It was great art and great utility in limited Magic the Gathering. It was a very nice power level. It didn't warp the format. They weren't some of the best cards in the format, but they were very fun includes in the decks. This landed, all of this, the differently named lands and the bonus sheet, I thought hit perfectly for limited.
Well, and it was nice, I think, we'll have a short list of our faves, but it was nice, when you opened, because of the lack of fixing, when you opened a creature land in your colors, or got past a creature land in your colors, it was like, fist bump, I get a dual land that's also like a late game mana sink. Like, Celestial Colonnade is going to win you games of Magic. That was cool to be like, the land is one of the most powerful cards in my deck.
Yeah, that, and I think also the other thing that was nice about it was you could get it 5th, 6th pick or whatever, like at certain times, like, and then you were like, yes, like you were really excited to get past that bonus sheet land that you wanted, 5th or 6th pick.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that ranking, number 17, the official Lords of Limited top 5 bonus sheet lands. Number 1, Strip Mine. I never got to do the thing with the Crucible of Worlds creature in Strip Mine.
I also never got to do the thing. I did get strip mined out of the game one time. Didn't feel good.
Shocking.
Number 2, Manlands.
Yeah, these were, I think, the best. I mean, obviously it's collective, but the best of this this cycle, save for the flashy strip mine. Number 3, Bonder's Enclave. Only got to play with this once, but definitely took over the games. Just having a land that's drawing you cards consistently is pretty busted. And again, not just green. You got a Paragy Beckoner out there. Bonder's Enclave got your back.
Yeah, Bonder's Enclave I played with quite a bit, and it was insanely good for me. That was, I think, the bonus sheet land I played with the most.
Nice.
Next, we've got Lotus Field.
You doing anything busted with Lotus Field? Nanoform Sentinel?
You haven't Nanoform Sentinel to Lotus Field yet?
I haven't, no.
You have not. You have not lived then yet, my friend.
God, Nanoform Sentinel's so good. And number 5, Swarm Yard. So many insects in this format. So many insects to regenerate. And it's tough. It's tough to beat sometimes. So some decks have a hard time beating Regeneration Shield on a lot of creatures.
I haven't seen this on either side of the battlefield, all format.
Oh, man. It's really
I've
good.
Heard tell of it in the Discord. People are like, this is an insect? What?
Yeah. Just really does quite a bit.
Number 18, Edge of Eternities was one of the easier formats to find your lane in a while.
Yeah. I don't know. I think because of lack of fixing, people weren't speculating as much. And so you could find, and it was that in conjunction with power level gaps made it so like, oh, I'm seeing this pick 6. This means something. This isn't just a fluke.
Correct. Yes. And it was very refreshing.
Number 19, Warp, overlapping with both Spacecraft and Void, represented a super clean and synergistic mechanic. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say. Having Warp trigger Void and having Warp as a cheap way to get power and play for Spacecraft was really nice.
Yeah, loved Warp. I think that was my second favorite mechanic past Spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Number 20, Void is way easier to enable than Morbid.
The big reason here is because, and Morbid is something that cares about a creature dying on your turn, and Void is any non-land thing leaving the battlefield or Warp, and it can be both sides. So like if you kill your opponent's thing, you get to trigger Void. That's the huge part of this.
Yeah, but I think the easy comp was to Morbid.
For sure.
Like I was definitely wondering, like, how easy is Void going to be to turn on? And the answer is it's really easy. Between Warp, just lander tokens going to the graveyard, removal. And I think also if you're coming back to this format, to remind yourself that it's both players' permanents, so be aware of when you're timing stuff. Like, don't crack your lander in response to your opponent's Void spell if nothing has left the battlefield yet, which certainly I think a lot of us probably did early on in week one time, and then we're like, oop, gotta remember to do that on the end step.
Correct, yeah. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. We turn to some funny places for support. The cashier at the grocery store, your trainer at the gym, a random parent at the playground. Toddlers, am I right?
or people we're very close to. Family members, loved ones, even podcast co-hosts. How many times have I used Ethan as a sounding board to air out frustrations, troubleshoot problems, or just straight up vent?
And vice versa. And I'm happy to listen or help the best I can, but sometimes it's best to leave it to the professionals. I know for me, it's freeing to get on a call with my therapist and know that I can be purely selfish in that time to work through whatever I need to and reflect and put the focus on myself.
With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally.
It's convenient, too. You can join a session at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life.
As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise.
Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lords. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lords. And now, back to the show. Number 21, Spacecraft stole the show from lander tokens for us. You're down on landers. The lander slander I can't deal with. I like landers.
I agree. Landers are good, but that's not what I'm going to remember from the format.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I'm going to remember, if somebody says Edge of Eternities, the first thing I'm going to think of is Spacecraft. not
Mm-hmm.
lander tokens. And not that lander tokens weren't good, weren't powerful, weren't fun to play with. I think you generally wanted something to do with them besides just spending 2 mana to turn them into a land if you could, but they're still very good as just a 2 mana land. And I think also spacecraft was a very misunderstood or a slash
Oh, yeah.
underestimated mechanic. I think still to this day, people are too low on spacecraft.
I definitely agree with that. And I think the point I will say is I thought landers were like kind of borderline broken as rectangles. Like I'm like, well, we've had treasures, we've had clues, we've had whatever. Lander's insane. These are like colorless rampant growths. And yes, that is what they are. And somehow not busted. Like,
Not busted. I think less good than a clue on average.
yeah, probably true. Which maybe wasn't that intuitive. Like it felt like the times where like that curve that we're talking about with the red commons is one that really highlights like how you can make landers busted. Where you're like, I'm doing this and I'm slotting this, being thoughtful about when I want to crack it. Because that's one of the things that was so awkward. A big level up I had this week actually was like trying to be thoughtful about when I was enabling my opponent to have access to a lander, like facing off a Beamsaw Prospector and being like, I'm happy to make this trade. I'm not happy to make this trade while you've left up 2 mana.
Yes.
And being like, okay, then I'm going to wait till you're tapped out and have you light this 2 mana on fire, which was not something I was thinking about a few weeks ago. But that sort of like pinch on your mana that landers provided made it so you really had to think about when you were cracking them and what that meant in terms of like losing tempo on this turn to regain tempo on a future turn.
Yeah, T's for Lords Unlimited. That's an award-winning card for me. The Beamsaw Prospector is the 24th card skill award for my being good for my opponents and not good for me.
That's very
Probably
funny.
because I needed to work on my timing of when it died. All right, number 22. Edge was a board presence people format.
Now, you could make a case that every format is a board presence people format. There's no format where you can't play to the board.
But it's more important in some than others, and it's really important here. Like
Well,
not only getting like there were just so many benefits from it. Getting on board early and pressuring your opponent made their spacecraft worse. Getting on board early and keeping your board around made your spacecraft better. It lets you leverage removal. I mean, which it always does, but I think the spacecraft is the linchpin thing here. Like
I
the
agree.
effect that having board presence had for as a boon for your spacecraft, like the ability to take 2 to 3 cards in your deck and make them Bs, and to take 2 to 3 cards in your opponent's deck that could be Bs and turn them into Fs is big game.
I agree. That's the reason why, like, I think board presence people is so accurate here. And the original set was War of the Spark, where this came up. And that was about because getting on board early meant you could pressure your opponent's planeswalkers and protect your own planeswalkers. And the same thing is true what you're talking about with spacecraft. When you get to make your own spacecrafts better and your opponent's spacecrafts worse, that's huge. Number 23, Edge of Eternities decks wanted you to know whether you wanted to play a big game or a small game. Is your deck a deck that wants Virus Beetles and a pinch on resources? Or is your deck a deck that wants Pinnacle Killship and a lot of resources?
That was really cool. I think Edge of Eternity is getting us to talk about that dichotomy because I've known about that dichotomy for a long time, but I don't think we've ever really talked about it on the podcast. And it came up in droves in this format. Yeah, I'm liking Edge of Eternities. It's
I
better
know.
than slightly above average. Maybe it's just an above average draft format.
I think it's a really good format. That's what I think.
Number 24, the official Lords of Limited Archetype Power Rankings in first, Blue Black.
In second, Blue Green.
In third, almost a clean sweep for Blue, Blue White.
In fourth, Red Black.
In fifth, Green White.
In sixth, Black White.
In seventh, Green Red.
In eighth, Blue Red.
In ninth, Green Black.
And bringing up the rear, but I love it anyway, Boros in number 10. I do. I love a big Boros deck. I would have Boros ahead of Green Black probably, but again, doesn't matter. And I love to see Blue Black and Blue Green number 1, number 2 with us saying that we thought this was going to be a Sultai format, even though I think that title or that descriptor isn't really accurate.
is like kind of reductive for the format. Yeah.
Correct.
I will say, speaking of some big red white, I saw an LSV vintage cube draft from the new vintage cube, and they brought back the Gargfather.
There's
Balanced Burger
balanced
Gargadon
Gargadon.
is in the vintage cube.
Fire up, fire. I know what I'm doing this afternoon. Fire up Magic Online. Let's go. Number 25, Edge cards were clearly divided into power level tiers with large gaps in power level between each tier, which is, I think, a point to why I like the blackjack's theory, blackjack scoring so much for this set. And one of the points many people brought up was it'll be interesting to see how that works in future sets. And I'm curious too, because it does feel so clear in this format. Like, card there. Part of the reason is I'm like, yeah, we could delineate Elegy Acolyte and Virus Beetle as a +2 and a +1 or whatever, but those cards are in the same tier in my mind. Those are just great cards. Then there are good cards. Then there are bad cards.
Yes. I think its simplicity is its boon. And I think keeping it simple will also make it more likely to work for future formats or be effective for future formats.
Yeah.
Number 26, traditional clunky 3 power, 3 toughness, 4-drop creatures with synergy were absolute bangers in Edge Draft.
Yeah. Sunstar Lightsmith, huge. The 4-mana 3/3 in white that when you double spell got a counter and drew a card. Mostly just because, and you could dangle this on turn 4 if you must. But there were enough things to do for 1 mana that, like, just waiting till turn 5 was fine. And once you already got a counter, you were just like, okay, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, kill it. Like, great, I 2-for-1 you.
Yeah.
Are you gonna leave it alone because you don't want to get 2-for-1? Great, I'll 5-for-1 you.
Right, was this one of the cards where you're like, how much more could they double spell? It's like a lot because it's drawing me an extra card every turn.
Exactly. Also, Seed Ship Agrarian, the 3G 3/3 that when it becomes tapped, make the lander, and then whenever a land enters, you get a +1/+1 counter. That in tandem with Spacecraft, that was what you wanted to do, is wait till you had a Spacecraft on the battlefield,
Yeah.
slap down your Seed Ship Agrarian, or a Gene Pollinator, or there were a number of cards that comboed with it, but both those cards were bangers. And then Halia, Ascendant Cadet, gets an honorable mention at 5 mana, the green-white uncommon. That type of card normally is also pretty clunky, and it was just great in this format.
Number 27, Edge having a critical density of bad cards was important to incentivize you to make Spacecraft work. Talk to me about this.
I think Edge, we've knocked Edge for having a lot of bad cards, but I think it's important that it has a lot of bad cards, because if Edge has better cards on the average, all of a sudden, like the thing that you and I like about Spacecraft, which is shooting for their ceilings, you're disincentivized to do, because you can just play good cards without the variance of your Spacecraft being a B or an F. But there's not enough Bs running around, and so you are incentivized to make your Spacecraft into Bs.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I really hadn't, like, once I read that, I was like, oh yeah, that is what's happening. Like,
yeah,
the bad cards make room for the ceilings of other cards.
Yes, correct. So, like, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about this format is Spacecraft and how all of that lines up. Very passionate about that.
Yeah.
Number 28, creating pockets of synergy around good cards like Cryogen Relic and Virus Beetle was key to success with non-green decks.
What, like, there's such a long list of cards. Like, I wanted to be like, and Cryogen Relic, well, if you get Exosuit Savior, and if you get Selfcraft Mechan, and if you do this, and I've got a fun Cryogen Relic story for a little later. And same with Virus Beetle, like, oh, you pick it up, or you Perigee Beckoner, and you Embrace Oblivion, and just so many cool things to do with those cards. Number 29, Diplomatic Relations made history.
Day 0 errata for a limited commons never happened before, right?
Not that I can recall. Yeah. Would it have been too busted?
No.
That's kind of great.
It'd have been pretty good.
I think the more egregious thing is that it's just like outside the color pie, right? It's outside of what green should be able to do. I don't think it would have been like better. Like, it wouldn't have unseated Galactic Wayfarer, I don't think, as the best green common.
I agree. Number 30, the official Lords of Limited top common of each color for white. I want to give it to Banishing Light. You want to give it to Focus Fire.
I do, but I don't think that's right. And I think, but also Night Luminary is a great card. Like, white had some banger commons. I think I would take the removal over the Night. And I think Banishing Light is probably correct. In blue, it's a clear Cryogen Relic. And for as much as blue's uncommons were busted, blue's commons were Cryogen Relic, and then a bunch of cards that could be good support.
Yeah. In black, clear Virus Beetle.
Which was, again, really cool coming off of Final Fantasy and Heck Dies just falling so flat. And then Virus Beetle being like, yeah, removal is great. All this removal is good, but I'm your boy. In red, I think it's Orbital Plunge. I'm like, in my heart, I kind of want to give it to Zookeeper Mechan, but it's probably Orbital Plunge.
It's Orbital Plunge, I think.
Yeah.
And in green, Galactic Wayfarer.
For sure. Number 31, the Golden Egg Award for card that glued the most archetypes together goes to Nutrient Block.
You love to see it. This card, Triggered Void, was a cheap ETB artifact, cheap card for double spelling. You could sacrifice it whenever you wanted without needing other synergy pieces. There was life gain synergies going on with certain cards in the format. This really tied the room together. Anytime I wheeled a Nutrient Block, or I got one like 7th pick, I was like, oh, these fools don't know how good this card is.
Well, and then there would be times where like pick 6 didn't really have anything in the pack I wanted, but there's a Nutrient Block, and I didn't have anything yet that worked with it. I could just confidently take it and be like, it's really likely that at the end of this draft, I'm going to have some way to make this work. And having a thing that the fact that it was like whenever it goes to the graveyard, you drew a card meant that you could use the scrapper, the slag drill scrapper, to sacrifice it. And now you're drawing 2 cards off of it, right? Because the scrapper's drawing your card and that. And there were a lot of cards in black the way you do that. It's just really good. And I think that's why Nutrient Block is going to be our fusiongamingonline.com/lords card of the day. You love to see when a golden egg is colorless, as the original golden egg was. And I'm happy to pass the baton to Nutrient Block.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Nutrient Block. Number 32, Use Social Engineering was a surprising upgrade from Chocobo Racetrack.
Not evident or intuitive to me at all that this was not basically a functional reprint, but the curve of if you got a lander on 2 or 3 from like whatever Biomechan Engineer or Galactic Wayfarer, and then on turn 4, warp out Use Social Engineering, play land, get a 2/2, crack the lander, get another 2/2, and then have Use Social Engineering waiting in the wings to come down later and make your land drops 2/2s was big game.
Yeah, the real wombo combo I found, like where Use Social Engineering smacked me around the most, was out of blue-green decks that also had the 5-drop that whenever an artifact entered, you made a 2/2, because then all of your lands made double 2/2s, the Mechan Assembler. Yeah. Anytime that happened, like it was like, okay, game over here. Every land was 2/2/2s.
Yep, for sure. Number 33, be warned, there are a ton of sweepers in Edge of Eternities, but they are not all created equal.
But are you a sweeper stan at this point?
A stan? No, but I've definitely come to a more reasonable stance than I was week 1, where I was like, all of these cards are atrocious. I stand by my take that like black-red decks make the worst use of them, like, which is why I'm still not a huge fan of the Mutinous Massacre, and I'm not a huge fan of 0-point Ballad in a black-red deck, because black-red is like keeping the board small, and so then it's really hard to take advantage of those sweepers, but they're powerful cards, and I have played with them a lot. Weirdly, I kind of think the white one is like the worst one, because the only reason is that like I feel like one of the ways you take advantage of those sweepers, like if we think about it, you're mentioning Gargadon and Balance and Vintage Cube. How do you take advantage of these symmetrical effects is to make them asymmetrical. And playing spacecrafts into sweepers lets you make those effects asymmetrical. But the white one also exiles spacecraft.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a little tough.
Number 34. All Fate Stalker lets you scam out your own warp creatures.
This didn't come up as often as I would have liked, but it was still sweet.
All Fate Stalker was absurd. This did it all. This didn't just do that. It re-triggered ETBs. It killed your opponent's stuff. You could rebuy it. Like, It was a very, very powerful, versatile card.
For sure. Yes, the fact that like you could do whatever, if you wanted to kill tokens with it on the warp and then remove a real thing, fine. If you wanted to use it to retrigger your own things on warp, great. And then cast it as a Fiend Hunter variant. Like, yeah, card was excellent.
But also, like, did hidden stuff, like, once you did that and warped it out the first time, your opponent basically had to hold a removal spell for it. So it kind of acted as a flag bearer without you actually having to spend mana on it to be a flag bearer type card. And for those of you who weren't playing back in the day, flag bearers are like cards that had to be targeted by removal if they were on the battlefield.
Well, and the other thing was that it made it so, like, if I don't have removal, but I do have a good creature, you don't have to cast your All Fate Stalker, but I know that until you cast your All Fate Stalker, I can't cast my very good creature.
Yeah, it did so much.
Speaking of something doing so much, number 35, the Swiss Army Knife Award for What Can't This Card Do goes to Nanoform Sentinel.
Coolest card of the format. But it's very close between that and Perigee Beckoner.
In terms of coolest card?
In terms of coolest, most unique card for the format, I think Nanoform Sentinel gets the award for me, though, for coolest card.
Yeah, it ramped, it turbo stations, spacecraft or lands. Untapping tractor beamed creatures was just the biggest, like, wait, I just get control magic? Which is also kind of cool, because I feel like control magic has been a card where you're like, I don't know, is control magic too busted for limited these days?
It definitely felt like it in this
Definitely
format.
felt like it with Tractor Beam, and Tractor Beam was control magic with downside.
Yeah, speaking of, number 36, control magic with downside is still great.
Yeah, I mean, there were, like, I guess because of the passive abilities of, like, things caring about void, or certainly when you stole something that cared about two things being tapped, and it was one of your, like, this is always tapped creatures, that felt like upside sometimes, which is crazy.
Yes, but stuff with static abilities too, like Glacier Godmaw or Elegy Acolyte. There were so many busted static abilities running around.
Well, and number 37, Glacier Godmaw could smack someone around. Was that someone you, Ben? Did you get
It was
smacked
me.
around?
It was also my opponents after playing some sealed. I did cast some Glacier Godmaws. One of the coolest things I did, I don't remember which sealed event it was in, but I 30'd my opponent in one turn. Like they were at 30 and I was almost dying and they had tapped out. And I'm sure they thought there was no way they could die. And I 30'd them. It was great.
It's like Godmaw, land drop, Cracklander.
Yes, that sort of a situation. And I had the green rare that doubled things power in hand with that. So I like hit double land drop in the turn. It was very nice.
Wow.
Number 38. We had a Splinter Twin situation at non-rare. 2 Perigee Beckoners, 1 Umbral Collar Zealot as a sack outlet, and then either Caesarian Voidborn to complete the black quad, or in red, Weftstalker Ardent.
I did this in pre-release, and then I only did this one other time in the format. Did you ever assemble this combo?
I didn't. I had a draft one time. I messaged you.
Yeah.
I had 6 Umbral Collar Zealots, the uncommon.
Which should be by far the hardest piece to pick up.
Correct. I had double Caesarian Voidborn, and the whole draft, I only saw 1 Perigee Beckoner. Very sad. Very sad boy.
Number 39, never let your opponent have 2 landers from Terra Pact Intimidator. Just never.
Just never. As LSV said, I would rather die.
I guess I don't actually believe that it's never, because I have done it, and I think
You've done it? Oof.
I've done it. So
bad.
I don't know. I mean, that's more reflective of how bad, like, the hand I kept was, or how bad my deck was. Where I'm like, I would rather you have extra lands and I have time to not die. But yeah, it's not great.
Number 40, the Imperial Oath Award for clunky looking overperformer goes to Perigee Beckoner. You love to see it.
Turbo Station, just trivially easy. For 2 mana, you get 6 extra power to Turbo Station a spacecraft. Rebuy some ETBs with your sacrifice. Push a ton of damage, because, like, you don't want to block the thing that has +2 and is going to get to come back. Triggers Void. What can't this card do?
Triggers Void on the cheap. Like, the Void cost probably should have been 2 and a black on
The
Parakeet
warp
Beckoner.
cost, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have been significantly less good if that were the case, I think. Like, really a big line there between 2 and 3, and this hitting 2 on the warp cost was really strong.
For sure. Number 41, the Fall from Grace Award for card that fell the most in our estimation. Cerebral Download, the 5-mana Scry X for artifacts and draw 3. I don't think I've put this in a deck since week 1.
Yeah, I cast it during early access, and I was like, ooh, not a fan.
Yeah, it's not the one.
It's but board presence people and cerebral download don't go together.
Yeah, for sure. Though, I mean, Cryogen Relic does, but that's because it's so cheap and then
It's
also so
synergistic.
synergistic. Yeah. Number 42, speaking of synergy, Exosuit Savior did some sweet things. Okay, so you could build your own Muldrifter with Cryogen Relic, my favorite thing to do. You could pick up Virus Beetle. Did you ever pick up a token from weapons manufacturing with your Exosuit Savior?
Because no, does that make it go off?
Yeah, weapons man. All that cares about is that it leaves the battlefield.
Okay.
And I also have, this is my Cryogen Relic story time, is that I had that in a blue-red deck with the mythic Kavu that lets your artifacts and red creatures have warp for 2 and a red.
Okay.
So I warped out my Cryogen Relic for 2 and a red.
Okay.
Drew a card on ETB, drew a card when it went into exile, and now I've just got a Cryogen Relic.
So you drew 4 off your Cryogen Relic?
Yep.
That is filthy.
Mm-hmm.
Number 43, Edge Rover has reach.
Did you get got by Edge Rover?
I did one time, and my opponents definitely got by it.
Just attacking like the 1/1 tokens into them?
Not like running stuff into it, but they clearly didn't want to trade off a 2/2 flyer with my Edge Rover, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Number 44, What Grinds My Gears, Edge of Eternities edition. How is Edge Rover not an insect? And I bet you don't even know this because you haven't played with the Swarm Yard. But Edge Rover what is the art? The art of Edge Rover is a bug. It's like literally
a bug climbing up a hill, yeah.
No, that's a robot scout is its creature type. It's not an insect, which is infuriating. Okay, we have Swarm Color and we have Comet Crawler, both commons that can sacrifice artifacts or creatures, but one has to attack and one has to be tapped. That is stupid. Biosynthetic Burst does not give hexproof. That's stupid, and like it should, and people acted like it did, and it didn't. Infinite Guideline Station is a 5-color rare in a set with no fixing, and it's not even good. It's not even something worth chasing. You're like, all right, I'm going to jump through all these hoops, and then I'm going to get some 2/2s. Cool.
Maybe, because there also were no gold uncommons.
Bygone Colossus is just bad. The 9-mana 9/9 Warp 3 is just bad. That's a miss. Like, at least make it something. Make a deck that wants it. Like, Nanoform Sentinel just does it better. And perhaps my biggest bugaboo, coming off of the blank has reach, is that Harmonious Grove Strider doesn't have reach. Look at its neck is like up in the moon. Its head is up in the moon. You're telling me this thing doesn't have reach? That's insane. That's what grinds my gears.
You'll love to hear it. Number 45, Edge of Eternities has some consistent last card in the pack and never see play commons.
Did you ever see Sinister Cryologist? Do you know what these cards do?
I do. Sinister Cryologist is 2 blue, 2/3. You can warp it for a blue, and whenever it enters, your opponent's creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn. And I'm a Magically Gathering. I did not ever play it, and I never had it played against me. This next one, though, I got absolutely ransacked by one time.
Really?
Zealous Display, the 2 and a white creatures you control get +2/+0 and untap. So my opponent,
if it's not your turn, right?
If it's not your turn, correct. If it's not your turn, yeah. So they alphaed at me, and I was like, okay, cool. I don't die, and I'm going to kill you on the crackback. Swung out, thinking I was killing them with lethal. They untapped their whole team, ate like 3 of my creatures, and then killed me the next turn when they cracked back after Zealous displaying me. And I was like, okay, got to remember that that's in the format, because I clearly did not.
Yeah. And last one is Melt Strider's Gear. Shout out to 2Duck Cubed, who has sent me many screenshots of decks with Melt Strider's Gear in them. I don't know why he's trying to make this card work. I don't think he has yet. But Godspeed and God bless.
Have you listened? I assume you have listened to the most recent Mystical Dispute.
I'm partway through it, but why? What's going on?
Because they were talking about challenging their bad decks against each other, and Garrett's like, no, I don't want to do that. My bad decks are way worse than yours because I do these terribly convoluted things that like might have a chance of being good rather than play vanilla 2/2s, vanilla 3/3s, vanilla 4/4s plus removal. I will lose 100 times out of 100 if we put our worst decks
That's
against each other.
Carl saying that. You
Yeah,
mean
Carl saying
Garrett?
that. Yeah.
It's funny. Number 46, Gene Pollinator tapping any permanent was a huge upgrade for that kind of effect. I'm like, where were you at with Gene? Because I feel like you're the OG. Jasper Sentinel is Mox Diamond.
Yeah.
Gene Pollinator, also great.
yeah. Gene Pollinator was not as good in this format as Jesper Sentinel was in its format, I think.
It was harder to make. I agree, because of equipment existing in Call Time, like harder
and types.
Oh,
Jesper Sentinel was an elf. That was big.
Gene's an artifact that matters, but like I agree, harder to make Gene a card on turn 6, 7, 8 in this format than it was to make Jasper Sentinel a card on those turns.
In my opinion, hot take, Gene Pollinator overrated.
I think I'm with you.
Wow, I thought I was going to get some pushback there.
I just like I don't think. I guess I think it's a clear 0. It's not a +1. I think it's like it's like a really good support card, but it's not a card that's like I'm actively going after to get into green.
Number 47, having a way to tap your creatures was an upside most of the time. Every deck wanted at least one spacecraft or station land for the most part.
I think so. Like, I think you really wanted. I felt bad when I ended a draft and I was like, oh, I don't even have a whatever. And it didn't matter. It was less about what the spacecraft was and more about, I guess, maybe a way to shoot the moon on some turns. More if I had some things that cared about tapping. It was just nice to have ways to tap your creatures. And so I think one spacecraft at least per deck was what you wanted. Number 48, Cryo Shatter continues the tradition of it's not as good as Unable to Scream. Is it ever going to be?
No, Unable to Scream was so goated.
But like every time they like Cryo Shatter, I thought Cryo Shatter was going to do it.
It has to remove abilities. Like for it to ever come close. Like that's why Unable to Scream was so good.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Number 49, the official Lords of Limited top 5 most memorable spacecraft. Number 1, Pinnacle Killship.
Number 2, the Seriema.
Number 3, shout out to you, Entropic Battle Cruiser.
That's my fave. Number 4, Larval Scoutlander.
Number 5, I think the spacecraft I played with the most, Synthesizer Lab Ship, and came to the conclusion that it's not really that good or worth jumping the hoops through. It's just not good enough. 12's such a big ask, and what you can't do is you can't ever get it online reasonably quickly. Like the Seriema or Battle Cruiser, like you can play it, get it online the next turn. People can see Lab Ship coming from
Lab
a
Ship
mile
is
away.
The blue 1-drop?
Yeah.
It's 9, station 9.
Whatever. It's hard. It's hard. And they always see it coming. There's never because you always run it out on turn 1 or like it's really hard to do the Seriema thing, and it doesn't hit as hard as Seriema or Battle Cruiser, and its station cost is higher. Just doesn't quite do enough. It's fine. It's a good card. You'll play it. I think it is less good than those.
Yeah. I don't want any spacecraft slander on my podcast. Number 50, Edge of Eternities was a fun draft format held up by some very good new mechanics.
Yeah, but I think the individual cards outside of Nanoform Sentinel and Perigee Beckoner at common or uncommon that weren't spacecraft were largely like pretty stock Magic cards.
Yeah, which isn't bad. Like, if this is the kind of air quotes core set that we get, like compare this to Bloomburrow or Foundations, which felt like the core sets we got last year. I'll take this all the time. Like I don't feel like it's bad that we get something that's sort of like a back to basics with a twist kind of set. Felt refreshing to me.
Yeah, I agree. Loved Edge of Eternities. I think the more that we've done this 50 takes, I think I've talked myself up since take number 1.
Goated tier.
Not goaded. Where would you put it though? I had to put a punctuation mark on our 50 takes.
I mean, I think I would have to put it in pet sets. Feels like the most accurate place to put it in terms of unless my perception is off, but I think my perception is correct that people mostly don't like this format, so I would put it in pet sets. But if
the community liked it, where would you put it? Top tier?
I think top tier.
Top tier. Wow, that is some high praise for Edge of Eternities.
I like it. I don't know.
It's gotta either go there or might flash back, because I don't think it's flawed. I don't think it belongs in fun but flawed.
Right. I think top tier for me.
Okay. But because the community doesn't like it, we got to put it in pet sets.
I think so.
We can just put it in top tier. Community be darned.
Just put it in goated. Easy.
Just tilt everyone even more.
Tilt everyone off the face there. I had no idea. Did you see that the EDH Rec like quiz thing about like people's most hated sets? And number one was 16% said Ether Drift.
What?
Also, and everybody, we had so many comments about me putting Ether Drift in goated, which was a move, just to be clear. Like, it was a content move. I also really like that set. 16%. What was wrong with Ether Drift?
Nothing, in my opinion. Ether Drift was a very fun format.
Wild.
People really hated starting your engines, I guess.
Really, they don't like vehicles. They're not into it. Okay.
It's going to be rough for the Mario Kart crossover that's coming.
Is that coming?
I don't know, but it seems inevitable, right?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. And on that note, thank you as always to Salty Pretzels for our intro and outro music. Make sure you give it a listen.
You can find all of our content at lordsoflimited.com. We've got links to our tier lists. We've got links to our episode backlogs, our YouTube channel, our Twitch streams, our Patreon page, all of that available at lordsoflimited.com.
If you got any feedback about the show or any questions, shoot us an email at lordsoflimited@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Lords of Limited.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.